What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my channel. This is the NFL Draft Cantina. For all you Star Wars geeks out there, you should know what a cantina is. But anyway, today I wanted to start off this channel and really give you an explanation on what this channel is going to be. This channel will be for mock drafts and mock drafts only. For those of you who don't know, I have another YouTube channel called Steel Jedi, in which I do a lot of stuff for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But with that in mind, I want to make sure of one thing. This channel, there is no bias in anything that I say. This is purely just an analytical standpoint to the NFL draft and the players that I've studied extensively through the past year, about year and a half for a lot of these players. And I just want you guys to know that this is an open channel. Feel free to comment. I would love to hear your opinions. I will just ask one thing. When you do comment on my videos, be respectful to not only myself, but other people in the chat, in the comment section below. So without further ado, let's get into it. I don't want to make this video too long. I'll probably do it in two parts. 1 through 16, and then 17 through 32. So, just a couple of not backstories, but a couple of things that you need to know when you were looking at this draft. One, the draft order was based off the website walterfootball.com, and is subject to change in the 20s because of the playoffs. Another thing, you may be seeing these colored boxes in which I actually got the idea from Samurai Radio, who's a good friend of mine here on YouTube. And down below, I kind of explain what it is. So the green would be a perfect fit for the team, best value at that position, best value at that pick. The golden yellow would be, I'm not quite sure if this is going to be the pick, but it would be nice for the team to have this player at the time that they're picking. And then the blue is really picks that are out of ordinary, but the history of the NFL draft has shown that there will be picks that you do not expect, like Joey Bosa going to the Chargers in 2016, so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get into it. I don't want to make the video too long because I will be making two parts, a 1 through 16 and a 17 through 32, like I said before. So with the first overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle / defensive end out of Alabama. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, are saying that Myles Garrett is the best player in this year's draft, the best overall talent. But as you can see, I have him falling all the way to 9. I'll explain why when I get to the 9th overall pick with the Cincinnati Bengals. But I personally believe that Jonathan Allen is the best value and has the most upside at the next level. When you talk about defenses, you always talk about building from the ground up. And when you build from the ground up, you need to build from your defensive linemen and then go from there. That's why I have Jonathan Allen. The Cleveland Browns are really in a tough spot right now and need to rebuild their franchise, and they could start to do that with Jonathan Allen. With a second overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Deshaun Kaiser, quarterback out of Notre Dame. regardless of the firings in San Francisco, I think still quarterback is their top need to address this offseason. And I don't think there's a lot of great quarterbacks in free agency this year. I mean, they could look at trading for a quarterback, but that's unlikely. You want to build your franchise around a nice, young talent at the quarterback position, and I believe Deshaun Kaiser has every skill to be able to be considered a franchise quarterback. You look at his size; he's around 6'4", 6'4" and a half. May grow to be 6'5" by the time, or 6'3", 6'4". He's in that 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" range, but he's big. He's an accurate passer. He just didn't have a great season this year because of the talent around him. With the third pick in this NFL draft, I have the Chicago Bears selecting Shawn Watson. Look, a lot of people have Deshaun Watson falling, but even coming from an Ohio State fan perspective, he tore apart our defense, and the Ohio State defense is arguably one of the best defenses in college football. Deshaun Watson just really has that it factor. While he may not be a franchise quarterback, he will be, at least in his rookie year, similar to what Marcus Mariota was. But he could also step back in the pocket and really just fling the ball. I think he's going to be a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson at the next level. I think Lamar Jackson's going to be a backup at best in the NFL. So let's move right along. The Jacksonville Jaguars, yet again, they don't select Myles Garrett. They select Jamal Adams. They started to build that defense up, that secondary up last year with the addition of Jalen Ramsey, who's turned into a stud for him, and the inside linebacker, Miles Jack, from UCLA. So they continue to build on that defense with the best overall pure safety in this NFL draft, and that's Jamal Adams from LSU. Moving along, the Tennessee Titans from the LA Rams trade. There's a lot of needs that they need. They need wide receiver, they need corner, they need safety. But right now, I think it is crucial, especially with the Dorial Green-Beckham departure, that they bring in a wide receiver that would be able to give Marcus Mariota a check down, be able to give Marcus Mariota a reliable target, a big deep field threat that's a physical receiver, and that is Mike Williams, wide receiver from Clemson. I do not believe he is the best wide receiver in this draft. I think that would honestly be Corey Davis out of Western Michigan. But with Mike Williams playing for the team that he's playing for in Clemson with Deshaun Watson, and he's Deshaun Watson's top target, he will go in the top 10 in this year's draft. Now, keep in mind, this is all my personal opinion. And it's players who, on my big board, I have them falling to these teams. So, moving along, and it's a team that I need to talk about, is the New York Jets. Last year, they were a top team, really, in the NFL with Ryan Fitzpatrick. But they really got away from that this year. Fitzpatrick hasn't been playing well, and they can't try and trust Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg. So at this pick, they bring in arguably the most NFL-ready quarterback in this year's draft, and Mitch Trubisky out of North Carolina. The only reason I have him falling here to 6 to the Jets is because North Carolina isn't the greatest school when it comes to football players. And I think because of the school that he went to, now don't get me wrong, there are those rare talents like a Carson Wentz, a Dak Prescott from Mississippi State, but arguably with Carson Wentz with North Dakota State, you never expected him to be as good as he was and go as high in the draft as he was. So Mitch Trubisky, I have going to the New York Jets. They get their franchise quarterback, and then they build everything else around them. I think they go secondary in the next round, and I will do a second round probably next week. But let's move along. The San Diego Chargers. Listen, a lot of people have them going with Jamal Adams or Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers, in my opinion, will fall in this draft because people don't really know where he's going to play. Very similar to Tyrann Mathieu, but he has kind of that iffy factor of you don't really know where you're going to put him. Personally, I would play him at safety, but we'll get into that later. So I have them selecting Cam Robinson. You're going to try and prolong Phillip Rivers' career as long as possible. And in order to do that, and I've been saying this for the past 2 or 3 years, they need to get a solid offensive line. If they get a solid offensive line, this team will be rejuvenated. And there's a lot of players that are coming into their own on that defense. Guys like Joey Bosa, guys like Casey Hayward, Verrett. So they add an insurance pick here with Cam Robinson, offensive tackle out of Alabama, who really did a really nice job protecting a young freshman quarterback by the name of Jalen Hurts and propelling them to the national championship. So the Carolina Panthers at pick 8 select Dalvin Cook, running back out of Florida State. I think this is a surefire pick. My opinion, Dalvin Cook is pound for pound the best running back in this draft. People argue Leonard Fournette, but the issue with Leonard Fournette is he has injury history, and it's really not a great thing to see somebody coming from college into the professional level with a history of injuries, regardless of his talent. And he really had a down year this year. And if you look at Dalvin Cook in that Orange Bowl, he really brought this team the victory in that game. So that's the 8th overall pick. The Cincinnati Bengals at pick 9 select Myles Garrett, defensive end / outside linebacker out of Texas A&M. Listen, coming from a Steelers fan, watching the Cincinnati Bengals play this year, it was disappointing for them. And I really thought it was going to be a better series between the two of us, like it was last year. And they just have aging players on that defense. And getting Myles Garrett here at pick 9 would be a huge steal. But I believe he will drop because of injuries, which is unfortunate. But I have him going 9 to the Cincinnati Bengals. With the 10th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select Malik Hooker. He just announced that he was going to be going into the NFL draft this year after only starting a single season at the Ohio State University. He would be able to bring that kind of ball hawk safety feel back to the Buffalo Bills, and a team whose defense, for all intents and purposes, have had up and down years. And I feel like this would be the player that would be able to have them turn the corner. And a lot of people have him going quarterback, but I think they'll still keep Tyrod Taylor for a year under a new coaching staff and see how he does. And then here, New Orleans Saints select Leonard Fournette, hometown boy, take pressure off of Drew Brees, prolong his career, and it would be a perfect fit in that offense. They have Mark Ingram, who is a Heisman running back. But adding another weapon like a Leonard Fournette, especially if he drops this far, would be a perfect fit. to have that 1-2 punch with Fournette and Ingram. It would be scary, and just add another weapon to that offense. At pick 12, the Cleveland Browns select Corey Davis. The main reason why I have the Browns selecting a wide receiver with their second pick in the first round at 12 from the Philadelphia trade is because you never know what's going to happen with Josh Gordon. And he's had constant off-field issues. And you need to sign Terrell Pryor. And you're going to have a record, I think, over $100 million in cap this offseason. You bring in a guy like Corey Davis, who is a deep field threat, but can play any wide receiver position that you ask him to play. You put him and Terrell Pryor on those X receiver slots or X receiver spaces and have them as the deep field threat, and have Corey Coleman, who I believe is really a slot receiver in the National Football League and would really excel at that. And then you have arguably one of the best of the youngest wide receiver corps in the National Football League. Arizona Cardinals at pick 13 select Reuben Foster, the best player available at this time, inside linebacker from Alabama. If he drops to the Cardinals, that is without a single doubt in my mind a surefire pick. Excuse me. Their inside linebackers are getting old. Deion Buchanan needs to be pushed back to safety again with Tyrann Mathieu, and that whole duo was arguably one of the best safety duos in the National Football League. And you get a nice, young, physical leader in the middle to be able to hold down that center portion of that next level. Perfect fit there. Indianapolis Colts, Quincy Wilson, quarterback out of Florida. Big, physical receiver. Or not receiver, big physical corner who would be able to go up against the physical receivers like a Mike Williams. Best player available at this time. Their cornerbacks like Vontae Davis is getting old. They need to bring in youth to this locker room and into this cornerback position. Last two picks, quick. The Philadelphia Eagles from the Minnesota Vikings trade select John Ross, wide receiver out of Washington. They need to add another weapon other than Dorial Green-Beckham and why is his name escaping my brain right now? Your other big wide receiver, not Nelson Aguilar. You guys need to get rid of him. Philadelphia wide receivers. Jordan Matthews. So Jordan Matthews and Dorial Green-Beckham, but then you add a guy like John Ross, who would be a perfect slot receiver for you guys, and really add weapons to Carson Wentz's arsenal, and he's the best player in my opinion at this time. Baltimore Ravens select Derek Barnett. I think he is arguably one of the best outside linebackers in this year's draft. He's had, I think it was over 15 sacks this year, which is absolutely insane. But you can move him around anywhere you want. You can move him inside. You can move him outside. He can play standing up. And with Terrell Suggs being towards the end of his career, I don't know if he's going to retire this year, but towards the end of his career, you bring in a guy like Derek Barnett and you prepare for the future. The AFC North is one of the toughest divisions to play in, and you need somebody to be able to hold down that side of the ball. So the Baltimore Ravens select Derek Barnett, DN/outside linebacker out of Tennessee. I will catch you guys in the next video to review 17 through 32. So like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think. Okay? Sounds good. Peace.